Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to another episode of Engineering with Shamil. And today we are going to discuss about the components of a public address system. So, for the last episode, we have started discussing on the public address system. We have discussed what is public address system and what is the purpose behind it, and how does the public address system operate during an emergency situation. So today we are going to discuss on what are the components of a public address system. So the public address system consists of the following components. So the first component is the microphone. So microphone is the one where you are going to announce the something. You are going to input some audio signal to the system. That is microphone. Okay, it could be either live announcement or it could be a recorded message. That is microphone. The second one is amplifier. So the purpose of amplifier is to boost the audio signal. That is whatever input is coming from the microphone, that signal gets strengthened. The third one is the speakers. So speakers will be delivering the audio signals to the occupants. The volume controller, the purpose of volume controller is, sorry, the function of volume controller is for local volume adjustment. Then we have the zone selector, it targets specific areas. Then we have the rack cabinet. So the rack cabinet is actually for housing all the equipment. It's a central housing for all the components. That's why we have the rack cabinet. Okay, so whatever components we have mentioned, all of them will be housed. All of them will be placed inside a cabinet. So these are the main components of a public address system. Now, in the coming slides, we'll be discussing each component in detail. So starting with microphone. So as I said, microphone, it's used for live announcement, and it's also used for paging as well. Okay, so that's why we are having microphone. So microphone can be of two types. It could be either gooseneck. So the gooseneck is the one which is having a very thin kind of thing, and it has a microphone at the tip of it, at the tip of the long stick. So that is gooseneck model. Then we have the handheld model, which normally the MCs or the singers use. Okay, so that is called as the handheld microphone. Then there are other microphones like the collar microphone and all. So these are the various types of microphone available. Okay, now now here, uh, here microphones will be including a push to talk button. That is, whenever you want to talk something in the microphone, you have to press the button push to talk. Then only you can deliver your message. So as I said before, the main purpose of microphone is to capture the human voice. The second component of a public address system is the amplifier. So as I said, the function of amplifier is to is to boost the audio signal which you are getting from the microphone. So it boosts the low level audio signals to drive the speakers. Okay, so in order to deliver the audio signal to the speakers, for the speakers to deliver it efficiently to the occupants, we need to increase the strength of the audio signals. Okay, and it will and another function is that it provides the power. It provides sufficient power for the speakers. Okay, so the power for so it serves two functions. First thing is that it boosts the audio signal coming from the microphone, and the second one is it provides the sufficient power for the speakers which are connected to the amplifier. So to summarize, the purpose of amplifier is to make it loud enough for everyone to hear. The third one is speakers. Now, speakers, you are seeing speakers in your locality, be it residential, be it commercial, be it anywhere. You can find speakers. So there are three types of speakers based on the location where they're installed. So the first one is ceiling mounted speakers. Ceiling mounted speakers are normally installed in offices, they are installed in malls, hotels, etc. Okay, so the speakers, they are flush mounted. They are installed flush mounted, and they are installed in drop-in ceilings. Okay, so that's why that's why we normally find the ceiling speakers. Then we have the horn speakers. So the horn speakers are the horn shaped speakers. They are found in the industrial areas, especially in the outdoor areas, warehouses and car parks and all. So these kind of speakers, they are weatherproof. They are weatherproof type, and they are installed. They are wall mounted or pole mounted. They are installed on a wall or they are installed on a pole. Okay, pole means it's the long place where on the tip of it, or near to the tip of it, the speakers will be installed. Then we have the wall mounted speakers. So the wall mounted speakers are installed normally in the corridors and stairwells. Okay, and it will be surface mounted on the walls. So these are about the speakers. So speakers, they are the ones that will be delivering the output, they are the ones that will be delivering the audio signal to the occupants. So we have three types of speakers. So the first type is the ceiling speaker, the second type is the horn speaker, and the third type is the wall mounted speakers. Okay. Now, volume controller. Now, volume controller is a component which is installed in individual zones. Okay. So the purpose of having a volume controller is to adjust the volume in that particular zone. That is, we can adjust the volume locally in that particular zone. Suppose you want to adjust the volume in a particular room like a reception or a particular room in ground floor, then we can actually adjust by using the volume controller. Okay. Now, whenever an emergency situation happens, then the message which runs during the emergency time, they will all bypass the local settings. Okay, so that is one thing that we have to be careful of. That is one thing that we have to take care of. Okay, so first of all, we have the volume controller. Volume controller can be adjusted, is used for adjusting the volume locally, and whenever there is an emergency message, that emergency override will bypass all the local settings. So the purpose of having a volume controller is for locally controlling without affecting the emergency override. So this is about volume controller. Then we have the zone selector. Now, zone selector, the advantage of having a zone selector is that it is for allowing the operator to choose specific areas. That is, in order to communicate to specific areas, we can actually use the zone selector. We just need to suppose that we need to communicate to a particular department in the building. Okay, and that department is located in the first floor of the building. First floor in a particular location. Let's say the room number is ABC. Okay, so in case if your zone selector has the room number ABC, you press that button and then you can communicate the message only to that person. The other rooms will not hear. Okay, so that is what zone selector does. So zone selector is primarily for targeted communication. Okay, so you send messages where they are needed or required. That is the purpose of having a zone selector. Then we have the rack cabinet. Now, what is rack cabinet? Rack cabinet is basically a cabinet where you are housing all the amplifiers, all the zone selectors, and all the electronics related to the public address system. So an advantage or the function of having a rack cabinet is that it provides cooling, it provides the cable management, and it also provides security as well. And normally this rack cabinet will be installed in the control room, in the IT room, or in the communication room. Okay, so it depends, again, depending on the building, depending on how the room is occupied, depending on how the room is utilized. Okay, so basically the rack cabinet is the central home for all public address equipment. So how the components are connected in the public address system. So the normal mode of operation is that whenever there is a voice input delivered to a microphone, that signal, that audio signal will be transmitted to the amplifier. The amplifier will strengthen the audio signal, and then that boosted signal will be sent to the zone selector. Okay. Now, once it reaches the zone selector, what happens is the zone selector can go for a, or it can actually transmit the message to the entire building, or it can select to a particular zone. Okay, and then what will happen is, you through the volume controller, in case if you need to adjust the volume locally for that particular room or not, depending on that, that signal will go to the speakers. This is how a normal audio path will work. Now, what happens during the time of a fire alarm? Okay, so fire alarm, or during the time of an emergency situation. Okay, which is mainly about fire alarm. So whenever there's a fire alarm override, whenever fire alarm gets activated, the fire alarm messages, the pre-recorded messages which is used during the time of fire alarm, that will gain precedence over the other types of messages, or other types of messages, including the background music. So whenever there's a fire alarm, the messages which are being played for the emergency evacuation, that will be having more priority, not more priority, the topmost priority when compared to other kind of audio related messages. Okay, and this messages will be transmitted to the amplifier, and the amplifier will strengthen the signal and it will transmit to all the zones, like regardless of the zone selector wherever it is placed, to all the zones the message will be transmitted. So this is about the emergency path. So the key takeaway for this particular section of the public address system about the components is that every component has a specific purpose, has a specific function to perform, from capturing voice to delivering the audio to the right places. Okay, so to refresh, so the microphone is used for capturing the voice input, amplifier is used for boosting the signal, speakers are for delivering the audio signals, volume controllers are for adjusting the volume locally, zone selectors is for targeting a particular areas, and rack cabinet is for housing all the components or the electronics related to the public address system in one single cabinet. So when all these components come together, then only the public address system will work efficiently. Okay, and once it works efficiently, then only we can rely on the system in order to deliver clear, effective messages, especially during the time of an emergency situation. So with this, I conclude the topic on components of public address system. In case if you have any questions, queries, doubts, and feedback related to this particular topic, kindly post them in the comment section and I will be happily obliged to respond to each and every question. Thank you for listening to my video and to my session. And before I sign off, I would humbly request each and every one of you to kindly like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Engineering with Shamil, so that it will serve as a motivation for me to produce more content. Thank you once again, and I'm signing off. Wishing you all a good day ahead. Thank you.